Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul with me here, Sarah Troy, on selfdiscoverymedia.com, and my wonderful repeat guest, Ester, Shifren. We did a wonderful, wonderful show many years ago on hiding in a cave of trunks, and it's all about being, in a Japanese camp during the war. What she had to go through, the journey that she had from there, and believe me, it has not been easy. So I really invite you to come back and listen to that one, because that's where we really discover her courage and her strength and her abilities. But today we're going to be talking about our isolation, and to each own experience and reflections of that isolation. During COVID, we've all had our own isolation issues, but what did she do? She turned to poetry. And every single day during COVID, she has put out on Facebook a poem. And we're going to start off today with one of her poems, kind of around the isolation, and we hope to hear some more through it. But I think we just need to set the stage right now, and you can just see what wonderful poetry she's been doing of inspiration every single day. Hi, Esther, my love.
Hi there. I was just thinking, as you were saying, that it's been 17 weeks of a poem every single day.
Wow.
And it's 5 minutes before coming on with you. I was nearly late for that because 2 lines jumped into my head and I immediately ran to get my phone to put it into my notes so that I wouldn't forget. Because very often I have the 2 lines and then I've got to reword them.
Right.
But I have last words always which rhyme, because I'm big on rhyming.
Yes. So let's start off with that one poem and set the stage of where this show is going to go.
Right. So I wrote this one several weeks ago, because I have not been shopping at all for 4 months, and
Wow.
I don't know what the inside of a shop looks like. So every day I look outside and wonder, should I brave it and go to do some shopping? Or maybe I should save it for yet another week or two when news is not so dire. Being at home alone so much, my creative mind's on fire. I miss events and people and the times we used to mingle. But now I have to settle for the writing of a jingle. And really, isn't that the thing that I was born to do? To be the all-round artist, the Esther that is true? So I am not complaining, but thanking lucky stars for gifts that whisk me up, away from earthly woes to Mars. The sky's no limit when I'm playing piano, painting, writing. It's all that I was born to do, what I find most delighting.
And talking about paintings, for those that are listening here on the YouTube, you'll see the painting behind her. I actually thought she was sitting out in her garden, but that is one of her paintings. And, Esther came to this kind of later in life when she opened up and bloomed. And she's an artist and a poet and a writer and an all-round gifted woman, and loves to dance. And here she is, 82 years young, with so much more to do in her life, and a true inspiration to all of us on seizing the day, that we're never too old, and that go with the flow, and when something talks to you, do it. And even though we are in supposed to be isolation, not everybody is, but that isolation is an invitation to step into our creativity and explore and allow things to come out. And 17 weeks of every single day putting out a poem for us, it's been really rejuvenating. Every time I've read them, it's been very apropos to the moment, to the day, to the way I feel, and it's been really wonderful kind of boost, kind of something that no matter what's going on in the day, you read that and you go, yeah, Esther's got it. So kudos to you, my darling, for
Thank you.
17 weeks of this. I mean, that's amazing.
Thank you. And while I'm doing some very interesting things have come from it, because I am going to be publishing those in a book.
Yes,
But
you've got to.
and while I knew that the poems would all be in a book, some other ideas started taking shape. And then I realized I could write little essays and some stories about my life in Israel and my life in South Africa, because I already have some of them written from years ago, short stories. So this will be a book of the poems and stories, and it'll be a real book, not just a thing of just poetry.
Right.
And I've even written about my life in China, and I'm getting so much commentary on it. People really want to know about that. So then I thought, okay, it's very daunting to write a book only about my life in South Africa or only about my life in Israel. But over here in short excerpts, I'm managing to write that story. And I'm rhyming it and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. You know, there's kind of no limit to the writing because I used to write songs. And Yoram Gaon, who is a leading singer in Israel, one day was in South Africa at a concert, and someone had given him one of my songs, and he said to me, you should write a song every day and you'll make a lot of people very happy.
Yes. You've got it. You've got it, you know, and, you know, from where you come from, you know, 6 years in an internment in Japanese camp, and your mum was a brownies cheerleader and got everybody going on that. So,
yeah, 3 years, and Israel was 6 years.
Israel was 6 years. And the thing is, you know, one thing that came out of our conversation and I love the show, which I really invite people to go back and listen to, is, you know, you then went to South Africa and you married somebody in a really kind of isolated town, and kind of became almost a prisoner again. And, you know, it was realizing that through your life, the prison mentality, the prisoner mentality had kind of gone with you until you broke that cord and kind of stepped into your creativity, stepped into your artistry, which then gave you your freedom to become Esther.
Yes. Did you read my poem about being someone's wife?
Yes, I did. I did.
Well, that's it. I kind of broke my chains on that last line, that I changed my name and played the game of being someone's wife. But in the first time that I wrote it and I changed it, the last 2 lines were actually that in that life, that life was a whole lot different when I was someone's wife. But then after the fact that I changed my name and played the game was much more appropriate for that. Because how many people give up their artistic life and create, and they're never thanked for it. And that's it's so sad. I've had friends who told me that their mothers confided in them when they were already in their 60s, these friends of mine. Their old mother said, I always wished I could be an opera star because I had a very good voice when I was young, or I wanted so much to do this and that, but my parents said, no, you get married rather and have children. And then it makes you wonder altogether about the roles that we're meant to be playing. You know, there was a time when people were told you must have children. But then later some people told me, friends of mine, that they were never going to have children. They didn't want to have kids. They were traveling the world and doing whatever they wanted. But there was so much stigma attached to that. Why?
Yeah,
you know,
I have a 37-year-old daughter who is single, doesn't want kids, travels the world. You know, she's an explorer. She's a butterfly, you know, and wherever she goes, she leaves kind of the pollen of Tabitha that people fall in love with because of her spirit. And that's her gift. Her gift is to go and give everybody this enjoyment and exuberance of life as a gift wherever she goes. And she writes about it and she takes pictures about it. And, you know, that is what she was here to do. You know, why should she? I mean, her father keeps saying, when are you going to settle down? When are you going to have kids? All of my kids are in their 30s with no grandchildren yet. Grandcats, granddogs, grand restaurant, but no grandkids, right? And that's okay. It's okay.
They should take away the down part and just, that's called settling.
Yes, yes, yes. And, you know, what is settling? You know, that also has a connotation of you're settling for something instead of embracing something. And, you know, you talk about 6 years. It was 57 when I started this path 8 years ago. of becoming Sarah, doing what I'm doing now. And I'm in my calling, I'm in my joy, I'm in my own art. And I have finally become who I was always meant to be. And so it's never too late, is it? But really what we want for our younger people is don't leave it to this lateness in life, you know, celebrate it beforehand and push aside all those expectations that society has on you.
Right, absolutely right. And you're wonderful, actually, what you've achieved and the way you handle everything. You really are. You know, when you are yourself and
Yes.
everything shines out of you and people see it, no matter where you are. I had some remarkable experiences of serendipity in my life, but something that I remember very clearly was I was returning from London after thinking I was going to be there for a long time, running an office for a timeshare in Greece. That's why my paintings are all Greek style.
Mm-hmm.
And but I was recalled because the South African government wouldn't give the company any more money to use abroad. So I was back with, I had so much luggage and stuff, and you know what that means when you're going through.
Oh,
So
yes.
when an officious looking woman standing behind a table in a uniform said to me, "Excuse me, can I speak to you?" And I thought, oh my God, now I've copped it. That's it. I'm like, she called me over and I said yes, and there I was with like suitcases and extra stuff. And she said, "I have to ask you a question." "Yes." "Are you a Sagittarian?" I said, "Yes, because I was born in China and I'm born on the cusp of Scorpio. And China is one day ahead of every other." So she said, "I could tell it right away, and I can see that you're a real traveler, and I want to wish, and a free spirit, and I want to wish you luck on all the rest of your travels in your life."
What a wonderful, I don't have those experiences. That's wonderful.
Floated Sarah. I couldn't even walk on the ground. I was floating on air. She set me up for the most amazing go back scene to that. Every time I felt, oh, what am I doing?
Yes.
You know, this was just amazing. And after that, I ended up in Canada for 5 years living, and my whole life was just travel for good reasons, not to get away or to have to be with someone to do the travel. In fact, when I was with someone, it didn't work out that way. So,
I always prefer traveling on my own. Yeah.
Strangers.
Yes.
I love just strangers. And you can't do that always when you're with someone.
Right.
You know, you kind of feel a bubble.
Yes. You know, we're both free spirits. We both love to explore, and you know, we've both done the parent thing. And, you know, and now we're in exploration. You're ahead of me, exploration of self, but you can't break someone's free spirit. You know, it will eventually find its way out. And, you know, a lot of people think with this isolation that it's, you know, restrictive, but actually it is a time where real true creativity can come out. If that creativity lies within you, you are in the moment still, you know, meant to be at home and isolating, and this is the time to really go in and let that creativity out. Like you, 17 weeks of every single day a poem, which is a massive feat. I can't wait for the book to come out. You have to get on with that, girl.
I'm tumbling myself because some days I write 2 or 3 and I'm ahead of the day.
Yes.
And I think, well, should I put on 2 today? No, I can't. And so I have to wait. And then the next day, I have to decide whether today's poem or yesterday's poem is more appropriate to put out today. It's very interesting. And I'm collecting pictures of all that.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky because I can walk past the piano from the fridge. You know, the fridge is all the time.
Yeah.
I'll go to my bedroom and I've got my iPad and I've got my computer and I've got my phone, in one of each in every room, so I can write down as soon as I'm in a room. But when I see the piano, then I'm more than likely to sit down there and play something for a bit. Now remember, I'm a trained musician. I'm a classical musician. However, I play everything else by ear. What I've found since I've started playing that much again is that even when my finger is going to the wrong note, something moves it to the. stuff's coming up that I don't know where it's coming from.
You're
I
just
don't know.
you're just channeling, you're just in tune, you're just letting it all come out, you're allowing, which is beautiful.
Why don't we teach children that when they're small at school?
We don't, because really, quite honestly, it's quote a new thing. I just had a wonderful show with someone who's a communicator. He teaches communication in industries. And we were talking about communication and how it's changing. There's a certain dialogue that's not allowed anymore, certain tonnage and certain expressions that aren't allowed anymore. And what we're in self-discovery at the present moment of what is our intent, what are we trying to say, and how should we say it? And we can't come from our head anymore, or come from our angst or our anger. We've really got to come from our heart and our soul and say it in a spirited way that is going to uplift rather than bring down. So we're in transition of that right now. I think it is going to be a norm in the next couple of generations that our children's spirituality is going to be nurtured. But our generation, most certainly not. It was all about sacrifice,
Yes.
self-sacrifice.
Domination,
Yes.
to the day that you married, and then domination probably from a spouse.
Yes, most certainly. Mm-hmm.
Like I only have come to realization of many things recently. I realized that I left the army when I was 18, and I was 19, because I'd been there 2 years, from the end of 17 to the end of 19 years old. And everything I did was regimented. I had to do, and my father was a regimenter. And my mom dominated us like nobody's business. And I moved straight from one domination into another.
Yes.
Right away. And I accepted that role. I had it from my father-in-law and from his family, his ex-wife and the rest of the kids and that, and from my husband, who would say to me, "Is this the time to come home?" if I played an extra set of tennis. So I was like shaking in the last set. Even though the sun was still up and it was South Africa, but it was time to go home to see that dinner was done. It's really hard to get over that because even later and very often, and even to this day sometimes, I'll think, oh, I've got to go home. Why?
I know. It's so indoctrinated into us. I live on my own. Well, actually, I live with a wonderful 87-year-old who's got chutzpah and energy like you, like crazy. But, otherwise no kids and no husband or anything else. And even I now and again, I should be doing this. Why? Why? Where's this should come from? I let go of that a long time ago. Why are you still tapping me on the shoulder?
Exactly right. We were conditioned to know that when it was sunset, it was time for this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
So because of that, when I lived in Canada and I was all by myself there, and I had cousins, but they were on the other side. I lived at the Bayview. I lived in many different places, but right on Thornhill.
Were you Toronto, Ontario, or where were you?
Yeah, Toronto.
Okay. I don't know Toronto that well. My daughter lives there, but I'm BC.
In Etobicoke, which is right on the other side. If you caught a train to go there, it was 1.5 hours at least to get there.
Right.
So I used to walk around a lot, and it was at 5 or 6 o'clock when I was walking on a street. I had no car at the time. I would pass, that was the twilight hour that is so hard when you're on your own.
Yes.
If you've been used to having kids and that. And so walk past lawns where families may be playing, but the lawnmower was running. No, the spinner, the water. Watering the garden, and the sun was like so high, but the day was like waning. And it was like the misery hour because you had no one to go home to for dinner.
I know. Yeah.
I read sometime later that many people struggle the most at that hour, especially on a Sunday evening if they go for a walk, because then it's a family relaxation hour.
Yes, and coming together. I mean, I totally get that. It's I go out with my landlady, but she's very limited to what she can eat, and so the restaurants that we go to very often do not have what I like to eat. So it means that I have to go off on my own. And I don't mind, you know, I have no qualms of taking myself off and dining out on my own. I've always done it. But you do wish that you had somebody there to converse with and share with. And that's when you really realize, you know, you are on your own. And in a sense, you know, is it self-isolation? Have we isolated from people? I don't know it, but we are isolated at that time. And is it from old habits, or we just haven't met people that want to dine with us at that restaurant at that time?
Right, right. You know, living in South Africa as a divorced woman in the first 2 years of my divorce, you can't go at that stage. I don't know now, but I couldn't go anywhere on my own. There was a stigma attached to it.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And then one day, the movie Private Benjamin was showing with Goldie in the small theater in the small town where I was still staying till I left for Johannesburg. And I had to see it because I was a Private Benjamin in the Israeli army.
Right.
Got to see this. Sneaked in. I went in after it started. I went in the dark and I came out before it ended. So no one would see that I was sitting alone in the theater.
I remember going out with 3 other women and myself used to go out. We used to get dressed up, go to a nice restaurant and have a nice dinner together. The amount of times we got accused of being lesbians.
I know.
Yeah. And if, you know, the men hitting on us and we don't want to be hit on, well, you must be lesbians.
They said to me in Canada as well, are you a lesbian? Right.
And, you know, now, you know, as I said, I've got 3 kids, one's married, but the other one's in a relationship. And my other daughter, the butterfly, I mean, she's off doing her things on her own, and we're in a totally different society now. And I think that there are some people that have weathered very well in this isolation. They've stepped into their creativity. They've found ways to communicate with people. They've done some of their own self-exploration. But there are other people who just, for them, it's like a punishment. And they just can't cope with it at all. And I think if you've either been isolated at some point, like you were isolated when you were married, when you were in the internment camp, when you're in Jerusalem, when you're in the army, as you said, everything regimented. And regiment is isolating because it doesn't allow you to explore.
And even when I was living in London, thinking that was going to be a long-time job, and I was only there a few months, I was isolated and lonely. I lived in Ealing, and I would stay after work, which was near Soho, I think, that area. And I would, after work, walk around from one museum to another. I would go and spend hours and hours and then get a bus home or transport home. But then one night, and you know how London is, it can suddenly start snowing or sleeting.
Yes, or raining, yeah.
And then suddenly in the bus line, we're told that there's a strike now and we can't...
right, that's often in London, yes.
Late at night. And I had packages of stuff that I had bought, food. So I waited, and then something came. I can't remember what conveyance it was. They took us to an area not far from where I lived. So I got it, and I was walking. Now it's the middle of the night, and everything is very dark, and I was told it's very dangerous to walk in that area alone. And I thought, oh my God, and I was getting very tired carrying these 2 bags. What am I going to do now? I can't carry them anymore. And then all of a sudden I saw something glinting in front of me, and I thought, that's a knife. I'm dead.
What was it?
It was a supermarket push cart.
It's amazing what our imaginations can get us worked up over.
I put my parcels into it and wheeled it home.
Yeah.
And serendipity took over.
Yeah.
What
yes.
a way.
You know, that fear. You know, I remember being in Washington, D.C., and I was living out in Maryland with a historian. So I was kind of caretaker of a home and everything else for accommodation. But I'd borrowed a car to go in and meet somebody in D.C., and I was coming home and I took a wrong route. And there were several guys of color, black guys on the side there, and I wound down my window and I said, I'm lost. I'm trying to get back onto this highway. And because of the color coming from South Africa, I made sure I didn't sound South African and that I definitely sounded my British self. And I asked them for help. And you know, I saw that they had chains and they had this and they had that, but I came at them with just joy and confusion and a little ditzy blonde, and they guided me out, and they were very cheerful and really, really nice. When I got home, my friend was really worried about me because no cell phones back in that time. She even had a police friend over because I was so late. And when I told them where I was, he said, "You what? You're there? Not even the police go down there. It's so scary." They did what? You know. But having lived in South Africa, and especially Hillbrow in Johannesburg, which we called Hellbrow Jailburg, the amount of violence that was around you all the time, you just learned to deal with it, and you learned to navigate around it. The only time it really became really dangerous is if somebody was extremely high or mentally deranged, and
Yes.
then it was different. But most of the time, you diffused it. It was the Yoda thing. You know, it was, I'm not
Absolutely.
the threat you perceive me.
Absolutely. And also, if you treat them like human beings, and you don't have
Exactly.
a different.
Exactly.
I've had
Yeah.
many experiences like that, except one that was like, so Toronto had experiences. I was working in a place called Joe DiMaggio's Wet Paint Cafe,
Mm-hmm.
where the artists were invited if you could do good work. And we painted in 5 slots for a week at a time, but I was invited to come back constantly because I sold paintings.
Mm-hmm.
And the diners would watch us painting while they were dining, and then they would buy a painting. And so I would come home late at night, and 2 funny things happened actually. The one night, I was walking up the steps from the subway, and as I, Bayview, I think, and as I was walking up, everybody, all the young people had run up already. They were like, and I was like, second last person, because there was one behind me on crutches, a man. So I said to him, I was sorry for him. So I said to him, "Do you need any help?" He said, "Help? I don't need help. I need sex."
Oh, sorry, I can't oblige, darling. Ah.
Same route where I was living in a side street. It was all houses, suburbia. And when I came home late at night, you know how you dress: long black coat, black hat, black scarf, and a painting. And the wind was blowing gales, and black boots. You couldn't see my face really because I was scarf around. And the painting's flying up in the wind, and it's coming down, and it's flying up in the wind. It's coming. And as I turned the corner to my street, I hear this scraping sound, and it was snow. Somebody was shoveling snow, and I didn't realize till I saw there was this Chinese man, and he was shoveling the driveway. So I said to him in Chinese, "Ngo hao zhongyi," which means I don't like it. Well, he took one look at me and fled. He thought I was. He ran into the house, and the next thing I see, he and his wife peering. Little do they know that I'm from China. They're probably born here, and I'm from China. Fun in all of the things that happened. I saw those as experiences that nobody else had had.
Yes.
You know?
And you know, that's what it's about in life, isn't it? Is that, yes, we're in isolation right now. Yes, it's an invitation to find your creativity or just to do some soul searching, or maybe it's a redirection for you in your life. But it's also to actually understand how we isolate ourselves in our lives from opportunities, from exploration. You and I are discoverers. You know, you've done a great deal more traveling than I have, you know, but, you know, it was that discovery of self and of other people and of experiences, and that's important to us. You know, it's always about what's next. And for so many people, because their regiment at the moment has been taken away from them, their routine, this whole thing of isolation and being invited to go in or discover something about themselves is pure hell to them, instead of looking at it as a gift.
They look for everything without themselves and not with themselves.
Yeah.
So I've encouraged. I'm sorry I won't be able to find poems that easily because I've got over 110 poems.
Yeah.
But I've encouraged people to think about what they loved to do when they were a child. Was there
Yeah.
something you wanted to do that you didn't?
Yes.
Painting, dancing, writing, anything that you love to do. Just treat yourself to start doing that again now. You never know where that can lead to for you, you know? But they've been so used to looking for their entertainment outside and
Yes.
not able to. That's so sad,
Yeah,
you
it
know?
is sad. And you know, this is the gift of time at the present moment is that redirect, review, renew. And it is a time to reflect because we're in the time of change. As I said, the universe is here. It's shaken us up. It's woken us up. It's asked us to step up so we can change it up. And we're at the step up stage. And that step up stage is be part of the solution. We know what the problem is. We don't want the problem anymore. We want part of the solution, which means every single one of us has to step up, you know, in our wholeness and our authenticity, in our creation, and bring it to the table. And for people who are living purely on the stimuli of outside in, you know, they just don't know where to begin. And, you
They
know,
Yeah. I mean, people always tell me that I'm so gifted and I'm lucky because we've got very good genes, really lucky, lucky, lucky. But I say to them, you know what? Everyone was given a gift and you really
yes,
have to use that gift. So some people who think they don't have a gift because they don't paint and draw and write, they don't, two things. They don't realize that artists need them to
yes,
perform for them and do for them. But the other gift that they have is why not just pick up a phone and give the gift of kindness? We have
yes, yes,
someone talk to them, you know,
yeah.
talk. People want to talk.
And we're in that era of caring and kindness. We're realizing the impact of it. You know, the impact of a smile, the impact of, can I do something for you, love? Like, you've been isolated for so long. Can I get some groceries for you? You know, and it's just simple gestures that really, really do help. And I've done a lot of shows over this COVID period on smiles, on caringness, on kindness. And because it's so relevant right now, and the first and foremost thing is be kind to yourself, right?
Yes. You know, I was thinking about, you saw that poem about the building manager who wouldn't give me a key, wouldn't
Yeah,
open. And I was thinking to myself, she's devoid of any humanity. There's
yeah,
no kindness in her whatsoever.
right.
And I feel so sorry for her that she has no friends, no one, nothing.
I mean,
And
we reap what we sow. Right. And if we're unhappy with our lives, maybe it's a time to look at our lives and go, well, why am I unhappy? What isn't working? What do I need to do to change it?
yeah, but I don't think that some people, I've discovered that there's some people who really don't have it. They can't find it.
No,
I
no.
don't know. Her excuse,
And the people that totally deny everything, you know.
well, her excuse for something recently when she told me that I have to change the light fitting in my kitchen myself, which is a ceiling fluorescent. And I said, I can't do that. I can't get on a ladder and do that. She said, well, then maybe you should go to a caregiving home. And that's actually discrimination. She's not
Oh,
allowed to
yeah.
say,
Yeah. And just pure bitchy.
yeah.
Yeah, pure bitchy. I mean, it's you're not meant. It is a risk. You know, I mean, you're 82. I'm 65, and I have conditions that wouldn't allow me to do that. And so, you know, the thing is, if you are in charge of the building, take charge of it. All right, stop passing the buck.
Well, she keeps telling us that it's the rules of the building and it's the rules and then when I said to her that's not very nice, but you know, she said to me, I grew up in a rough neighborhood, and that's her excuse.
Yes.
I said, and
Did you tell you where you grew up?
yeah, you know what? I was a prisoner for 3 years of the Japanese. I know what isolation is, but the building is dirty thanks to her. I said, but we were clean. It didn't matter where we lived.
Right.
We lived in a tent in Israel and we were clean.
Yeah.
So it really, who's to educate these people? Does it come at the school? Does it come from the home? Where does it come from? Both?
I think it comes a great deal from neglect. You know, I have a series called Raising Our Gifted Children, and one of the series is the Forgotten Children series, which I am going to be doing a podcast book on, hopefully in the fall. And it's you know, horrific to think that 70% of the people incarcerated in the States are foster children. And and to look at the sex trade, and to look at how much kids are taken away from their parents instead of the society helping the parents with the children, and how many children are neglected. And you've got a poster child out there in the States right now, Mr. Orange, who's the poster child for narcissism. And narcissism comes from not teaching empathy or love or kindness when they're a child. And so there's an inner child in there, screaming out, a tantrum child, and a child looking for approval. And we have to look at people who are troubled like this as a byproduct of their upbringing. But at some point, they have to take ownership of that and say, stop putting the blame, finger pointing. There's three pointing back at you. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
what are you going to do about it?
I think they're comfortable in their misery.
Yeah.
They're comfortable in that's their comfort zone. It's almost as if they don't know how to change that.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen an awful lot of people in isolation right now with mental illness and suicides and other things. And we've got to realize too that for some people with mental illnesses, isolation, not being able to get out and use what they normally do to manage it, is like being trapped in their own demons. And we have to realize that we need to reach out to these people even more, and that kindness and conversation or engagement, or trying to get them engaged in something that can help them combat it, is very important. Just because people are behind closed doors doesn't mean that you neglect them. There's certain people that you really need to reach out to.
People have forgotten a bit. They've forgotten that there are, at the beginning it was, can I help you? Can I shop for you? But now that hasn't happened anymore, because I also am very independent. So I haven't really asked a lot from anyone. But I have got, like, my daughter sometimes shops for me, but she's really very, very busy, and she lives in Calabasas. And then I have another couple who are my kids' age as well. And I've known their family for absolutely ever. And they have shopped for me a lot. He never fails to phone me when he's shopping to ask me what I need. And then yesterday he called from Whole Foods, and I said, yeah, I need vegetables. That's what I really need, if you don't mind. So he said, okay. And he collected a few things, and then he was standing in a long line. So I thought, well, I needed carrots, but I wasn't going to ask him to step out the line. And the next thing, I get a text from him to say, you won't believe it, but all the lights went out and everyone had to dump what they had shopped for, and we all went home.
Oh, no.
Luck and fate.
I think because of the way you were brought up, the things you've had to navigate, this is just another thing.
And humor comes into everything for me.
Right.
This is crazy. I said to him, oh my God, you needed that with all he's a real estate guy, and he's busy all the time. And I said, you needed that, like a hole in the head.
Yeah.
So he's like an angry face, So.
But you've been through so many ups and downs, so many struggles. And of course, in the first show, we talk about those struggles. Yet you've chosen to be optimistic. And, somebody also pushed you with your artistry, to push it out there, which became your freedom. And the whole desire to explore and allow has been your salvation. And that's why you're such a gift to everyone else, because of that sharing and that inspiring other people. But not everybody is like that, and there's so many people that think it's a punishment, or it's a hoax. And a lot of people don't realize that it's not about being in their home and not going out. It's about the isolation in their heart, in their spirit, in their in their persona. And that's where the isolation really lies, because otherwise you would look upon this time as, oh, I've got time to do and be, rather than time is against me.
Right. I was attending some meditation classes with one person in particular who's a writer, a wonderful man, and another one a couple of times as well. And then somehow I drifted off that. I couldn't stay with it. It's too regimented for me. and I've been through too much, and I'm capable of doing what I
Yeah.
did with my own. And a lot of what I do is like meditation.
Yes.
All arts are meditation. All arty things are meditation. Because when you're painting, you're in your head
Yeah.
for hours and hours. You're not really, if the phone rings, you jump out of your skin.
Mhm.
It's the same when you're doing a piano thing,
Yeah.
and also definitely when you're writing, because you're
Well, you're
like
in
in,
the zone. You're tuned out and you're in the zone. You're channeling, that
right.
knowledge, that wisdom at the time, and you kind of have exited from the human realm.
We are beyond lucky if we can channel like that.
Yes.
It's amazing, absolutely. And I'm so glad my children are all in this thinking. They've
Yeah,
all done.
that's good. You're very lucky there. I used to be lonely, and I, wrote a piece about only the lonely and, loneliness in a crowd, where you're there, they're talking to you, but they're talking at you. They're not talking with you, and feeling lonely. And I felt like that most of my life. Plus, being a sickly child, I was left alone a great deal in my bed. And so I had to learn to be alone with self. And of course, cosmic, go off and travel. But it was something um, that kind of chased me for a long time, that's loneliness. And now I have got to that stage where I love my alone time. I am no longer lonely because I have self. I know who I am, what I'm doing, what I need to do, and I'm no longer worried about living with me alone. That loneliness isn't there anymore. I choose to be alone.
And a lot of reading. I used to read Enid Blyton and all those
Yes,
books.
yes.
It was wonderful escapism. I mean, as a child, reading all these books one after the other, whatever I could get
Mhm.
hold of, anything. And it stood me in really good stead. The only thing that I found that's not good for me now is that I'm reading too much that's political and
Yes.
and too much news rather than books.
Yeah.
So that's me
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah, the only news that I watch is like Colbert and The Daily Show, because that's the only way I can watch American news. Because if you can't laugh at it, you're going to go hysterical, in a different way. Um, it just, everything is so bizarre and so utterly out of control, and nothing makes sense, and there is no common sense in anything, and it can get to you. So, even with the COVID thing, it was like I wouldn't watch it every day.
Right.
Just every now and again, what are the numbers? Where are we at? Pay attention to it, but use the common sense, wash hands and distance, but also keep calm, because we know that you lay victim to any illness when your emotional state is high. So,
Definitely.
it breaks the immune system down.
It's interesting to me that we never, ever in the United States see anything about Canada unless
No,
it's something bad, unless
of
it's
course.
bad.
No, the America governments don't like Canada.
Right.
And we've been second-rate citizens, all the time.
And dare I say it, the masses are asses.
Yeah.
They them think that you fall off the edge of America if you go to the edge travel.
Right. Yeah. I
There's
mean,
not
I'm very proud of the way we've handled things. Our government stepped up, with subsidy. Was it perfect? No, but they were navigating. This was unheard of, unprecedented. Here in BC, we've had a few new cases lately because we're in phase 3 and there's more people socializing, but there are only 20 in the whole of British Columbia, and our death rate is right down. We've only had 2 new cases on the island in 5 weeks. And, back in Toronto and Ontario is a little bit more because it's more dense. But we're doing very well because for the most part, Canadians have stepped up. They've stepped up. And, I look at Florida and I look at everything else, and back to work and back to this and back to that, and another 20,000 cases here and 20,000 cases there. And I think, are you for real?
she has had 3,600 deaths.
Where?
LA County, Los Angeles County, 3,600 deaths.
Well, I mean, you've had, I think it's probably close to 140 deaths in the United States, and a great deal of that in New York and Florida, right?
Mm.
And it's because, I have a colleague who is a beautiful soul, highly intelligent, but she thinks it's a conspiracy. And
I friends who
it baffles me.
I have friends who are thinking that to this moment.
Yeah, yeah,
They're seeing
yeah.
anything.
And I had a cousin. You know who Dave Brubeck is, right?
Yes.
Well, this is his son, Darius Brubeck, who's also a jazz player. I interviewed him last year. It was wonderful. He's married to my cousin, and he came down with it, and he was 3 weeks, on an incubator. They didn't think he would make it. He's home now, but he's got, it's going to be a good long year before he's back up there, and the lungs are damaged. And my landlady,
Oh,
she's lost 6 people, colleagues and friends, to it.
and it's not true. I can't believe what they're sending
I
me.
know.
Then please don't send
I
this.
don't get it. And it's like, pandemics, if you look at the history, they always go into a phase 2, and they predominantly are passed around by people, and also very much hygiene based. And so we've been asked to stay home or keep our distance when we're out, wear a mask, wash our hands, common sense, right? And we will get through this. But no, you're taking away my rights. Why should I do this? Why should I do that? And you've got to look at yourself in this way. You may not get it, but you might be a carrier, and you may be killing someone you know, or even your own family.
Sure. I don't know what it's going to take here. I think we're in real trouble.
Yes, but I'm afraid so. I mean, it's going to take a lot more deaths and a change of government, to see things happen. Get out and vote, folks. Please get out and vote for the right one, and not Kanye West, please.
Caring person knows the truth, and if they don't do their share to change this, then I don't know. I feel we're in the hands of evil, personally. Really.
Well, and also I also feel that was needed. That to show the decadence, the opulence, the entitlement, the greed, the downright danger from these people was the wake-up call that people needed in order to change things up. Otherwise, they just would have carried on running the country, and everybody else would have been the puppeteer. So it was an invite to be the solution, and only through seeing such extremes that we kind of pushed to go the other way. There's, by the way, I haven't looked at it yet, but this is something to look at. It's called the Lincoln Projects. It's on YouTube. I haven't seen one yet, but I was interviewing somebody yesterday who told me about it, and it's done by Republicans.
And you know who that is? That's George Conway, Kellyanne Conway's husband. He's a big deal there. And how they stay married, you wonder.
But apparently, they're anti-Trump and all his rhetoric, and they're Republicans. And so it's about time Republicans stood up. And, they're cowards for allowing this. So they just want to protect their own job, and
do you think it's time for a midway party, another party to come with people who are level-headed, who are both spectrums? But
I think it's time for a woman who's rolled up her sleeve with some common sense.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there were so many good candidates there of young men and women, and I was disappointed to see them go with the old white guy. When you had people there that were much more progressive, much more kind of liberated, and it was sad to see that.
And who's he going to choose as a running mate?
And I hope he has the common sense to choose a young, progressive person to balance it out.
That's right. What's going to come now is most seriously important.
Very. Because, in Canada, we've got our own issues, etc. But, and there's always the political, parade that's going on. Conservatives hate, Trudeau, and there's always the mudslinging that's going out, and, perpetual little games that the politicians play. But, we're very much kind of governed by what happens in America because we're neighbors, we're attached.
But we don't see it here.
Right.
But the Canadians do.
Yes.
The Canadians are much more worldly, as much as they're right at the other end of the world, almost. But they're much more worldly than the Americans are in general, the masses.
Yeah.
They study different things as well. They know more about the world.
We have a lot more kind of cultures here that we're immersed with, that are a part and parcel. I mean, my own children are half Chinese. And so with a lot of the mixed cultures that you've got here, and our millennial kids that are mixed, and they don't see the differences. They just see people, and you're this or you're that. Who cares? It's who are you, the core of you, the heart of you.
Right. I just pray for a world where there'll be no more racism and no more hate the way that it is today. It's just
Well, I'm afraid to say that you and I will not see that completely, because I think we're looking at another 2 generations before you see that completely set. But I think over the next 2 generations, we're going to see that shift of what is allowed. I mean, you know how the pendulum always swings one way? We're going to go to the extreme of where we're at right now. You've got to be so guarded as to what you say, and look to the intent behind it. And if the words aren't quite right, don't penalize somebody if they're trying to support you. All right, don't attack. But we're seeing a little bit of that, the swing of the emotions right now. But as we see that kind of settle down, then we're going to see a new norm. But that reprogramming has to happen. And we know that programming takes a while for it to set in. So I think you and I may see this certain shift of it and the changes of it, but the actual set in, I think, will be the next generation or even the generation after.
I hope they can save our planet and not destroy it the way that they're going.
I know it's just horrific. And having done so many shows on the planetary thing, is if you step into heart consciousness and align the soul, heart, and the spirit, you cannot knowingly harm anyone or harm anything, because you know that it's against your own vibration. You're hurting yourself. For people that choose to rise up to that level, they understand that, and more people are waking up to that, and more people in business, in industry, even in governments are waking up to that. But again, we've got to see that shift, that dominance there.
I think a lot of the young people will be the ones. They're fed up.
And I don't think it's so much the millennials as the millennials' children. Because the millennials are kind of, like talking about it. Some of them are very progressive and really out there, and others like, well, I don't want that mess. I just want harmony. And then the children will come up and go, you had a great opportunity. Why don't you take it? Look at how innovative and creative our children are.
They are. I've never seen anything like this today.
Yeah.
I'm watching. And there are a whole lot of extremely talented kids coming from somewhere.
Yes. Indigo kids. Yeah.
They've had years and years and years of training. Something's going on.
I know, it's exciting, isn't it? It's good. We need to open up to that even more. I think people need to stop looking at what's happening in the world as self-punishment, or that somebody's out to get you. Right. What we're looking at, a shift in the world, is a rebalance, because we were out of balance. We were dysfunctional parents. We were completely inconsiderate and ungrateful of what this planet gave to us. We became nasty, bitter, and twisted, and just got at each other like savages. And we have to look at all of that and say, that's enough now. We're going to destroy this planet and ourselves with that way of thinking, and it's time for change.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's really true. Gosh, have you ever heard of a guy called Nassim Karaman? I think is his last name. Nassim. He's a physicist, but really, they said he'll get the Nobel Prize. He's fantastic. Well, he talks about all of this and the planet, and how our everything is within ourselves.
Yes, we're all energy. We're all connected.
And quantum physics.
Yes.
And so I grew up with that since I was a child, because my grandfather was a Kabbalistic rabbi, so he had all that. And my mother would talk about it the whole time. It was something we spoke about easily, and we knew, And now all of this that they used to tell us, which sounded to other people like airy-fairy, coming out more and more. So he's on YouTube, and if you watch him, you'll love it. Some of the short. I know you and I never have enough time to finish in the day.
No, definitely not.
So
Well,
I
you know,
never,
I've got a genre called quantum spirituality because this one is called Ignite Your Heart and Soul. But the quantum spirituality, and the reason I put that up there is that I've done so many shows on energy, either energy healing, you know, energy balancing, energy to do with the planet. And it's since we opened up to the quantumness and
yes,
understood the quantumness, you're seeing scientists understand spirituality as energy, right? There's
yes,
not a kumbaya abstaining from life. It's an energy that people choose to ride on. And that we are made of particles of the universe. So we are part universe, we are part earth, and we are all energy. And it's all a question of the frequency that we ride on. And the higher the frequency they ride on, the more love and harmony that we're going to be in. And the more we project out, more creative we're going to be, and more invitational we're going to be.
that's right. That's right. Absolutely.
It's an exciting time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when I started this 8 years ago, I was coming from depression, and I really looked at the world and thought, do I really want to be a part of this? Humans suck. And I needed that redirection. And then I started interviewing people that were really making a difference in the world, that had gone through their trials and tribulations and had chosen to discover their beautiful gift and share it with the world. And having done over 2,000 shows now, it's always had me in awe of how resilient, how creative, how utterly awesome we can be as human beings when we decide to step into that and feed that rather than feeding the doubt and the hate and the fear. And I think this is where we're seeing the tide change right now. And I think this is what we're seeing with all the changes and even the isolation right now of how it's changed everything. The way shows are done. People aren't doing them in the studios, they're doing by Zoom. We're seeing people being more relaxed, coming from their home. We're seeing them being more open and honest in their conversation than they would be in a studio. You know,
Yes.
we're seeing so much change that it's going to be hard to go back to that sterile and controlled environment after we've had such beautiful open honesty in this other environment. It's going to be a merge of two.
Yes, it is. How did you help yourself with what can you tell people that helps them with depression and
Well, I have fibromyalgia, which I've had for 23 years, and my depression is very much chemical to do with the fibromyalgia. It's very much a byproduct of that. And I finally found a pill that does work, which took a very long time to do. But also what I found was music was a great help to me. And music, it wasn't so much the music, you know, the words or how the music was played. It was obviously the frequencies of the music that were resetting me, resetting my vibration and feeding and fueling me.
can you
No, but no particular music. I could listen to anything from violinists to classic to pop. It was just like I would go on YouTube and just listen to some music. You know, pentatonics. I love the a cappella. I've got a few people that get drawn to at that time, and I look at it that after doing a quantum speech, galactic speech show on channeling speak, where you don't understand what they're saying, but what they're doing is they're resetting you on the inside. I realized that music and the frequency, the energy and the vibration of it is the same as that. And it goes in and it speaks to me, but also being proactive, doing the shows, you know, definitely pouring yourself into something that you love and participating in it. The worst thing you can do is go and isolate yourself because that increases the depression more.
Right. I actually wrote that for tomorrow's poem. It was written yesterday, but then today I wrote a new one and I just put that on instead. But that writing poetry gives me a chance to vent.
Yes,
And
yes, yes. Have you got to, can you share it with us? This
yeah,
is going
sure.
to air next week, so it would have already been up.
And then if this is not the one you want, you tell me. Okay.
No, 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 folks, I just want to point something out. 82, she's got her own painting background there, graphic that she's got up there. She's on her phone, you know, doing all of these things. I mean, there is no excuse for people saying I'm too old to handle technology. Look at her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's going on here? Oh. Oh dear. Ooh. Okay, here we are. Um,
And what I love about the way you do your poetry is you just open up completely and just channel, rhythmic. And that's, I think, another reason why I enjoy reading. They're in rhythm. And I think rhythm is extremely important to our equilibrium.
Yes. Right. Very. Okay. I don't know why it's flipping to something else the whole time.
That thing on the phone, you can go up to it and close that page down so it won't keep coming up. Technology. I mean, technology is absolutely brilliant. We wouldn't be able to do this without it, but at the same time, it can be extremely challenging.
Right. Okay. When writing poems and giving vent, I feel my gift is heaven sent. The saying goes, there's none so blind. If I may only change one mind, then I'll continue on my quest. Never will I stop to rest. Many are now opening eyes. They took a while to realize the one they worshipped, idolized, was not the one they should have prized. As long as I have words that flow, I'll vent. My hat into the rink I'll throw. Seek the truth that sets you free. Do research, not just from me. Don't spend your life in misery because you voted abysmally. Be strong, just change. It's not too late. Your vote can change the hand of fate. If you're honest, have heart and brain, you'll see these leaders inflicted pain on many of our brethren. Admit it. Change your party, bravely quit it. Please don't miss it. Make a note. November soon. They'll count your vote.
That one is going on the homepage for sure. Definitely. Very powerful. That one is not just for one day. That one needs to be played every day until November.
I wrote it 2 days ago. And then today I wrote, oh my God, I've got to write down another 2 lines that I thought immediately. And it was something like this. Or I have, because I always edit it afterwards.
Right.
Who do not understand that if they do not mask it, they could be the very ones who end up in a casket.
Aha. Very, very true. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I mean, I want people to go to your Facebook page and they can, scroll all the way back to all of them, but you're going to be putting this in the book with another thing. When are you going to stop doing these poems and when is the book going to come out? Because we want it, girl. We want it.
Okay, the poems are going to go on. I have no intention of ever stopping until if I run out dry.
Right.
Happen. But the book will come out as soon as I can get it together now. I've started already thinking I've already got a word processing thing open with the poems in.
Right.
I'm sending them to myself in emails every week, so that the whole thing, so that I've got it all recorded and it can't get lost.
Right. Good. No, you can't get lost. Okay. We need it.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going to do that. And I wanted to tell you something. Yeah, so look, I still would love to find the name of the woman who used to write a poem every day in South Africa in the newspaper. She was English, but a very short poem that was spiritual. And I used to say then, oh, I can do that. Of course I could do that. But when I started, my first poems were very, very short. And they were about isolation and phoning people and all that. I've got them. I mean, they're all here. But then they got longer and longer because I can't stop myself.
You're in the flow, girl. You're in the flow.
And I won't stop because it's giving pleasure to do it.
Yes.
But also giving me a chance to let people read about voting without making them fed up.
Right. But it's not just about that. It's everything that you write about. It's perspectives of what's going on. It's reflective. And so it gives people another point of view. Yeah, I see that. But by doing it in a rhyme instead of like posting, ranting, it's more digestible. All right, more relatable. So, your poems are wonderful. The fact that you're coming up with them every day, kudos to you, really, kudos. I mean, I thought with this COVID, I'm going to have time now to write my book. I have been so busy, so busy that I've had no time for that. And I still don't know when I'm going to have time for that. But, whenever it's meant to be, it will happen.
Have you ever heard this saying? I'm tempted to put it in as a quote from someone I don't know. It's not the cough that carries you off, it's the coffin they carry you off in.
Right, yes. Yeah. It's funny because I was told many years ago I have 2 books in me, and I'm going to do it as an audio and then have it made into a book, because
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing podcast books. But it's just a question of the time. I'm doing 4 to 6 shows a week, and editing and everything else, and it's the time to do it.
How many?
4 to 6
46,
shows a week. So
426 or
yes.
40?
Not 46, 426. Yeah, 46. Okay. Each show takes around 4 hours to produce. So I don't have that many hours here to do that.
Do you clip out bits and pieces or not?
No, only unless it's a flaw. If we have a faux pas or something, I let it go. It's all organic. It's all natural. So, but I do all the editing of the videoing, the audioing, and the postings and
One,
everything else.
love it. But you're so alive, So when you interview someone, it's very comfortable because we're able to laugh and joke.
Yeah.
It's not a serious.
Oh God, no, there's enough serious, we talk about serious topics, but
Yeah,
it's all about how either can we laugh about them or find a solution for them. And I don't want to get stuck in, somebody said, well, you don't argue enough in your shows. I said, well, then change to a different channel, because you're not going to have that here. We're not about bitching and arguing and pointing fingers. We're about accountability and responsibility, but self-accountability and responsibility. And how can we get there where we want to be?
Right. Like if you can't do something about it, then why worry? And if
Yes.
you can do something about it, then why worry?
Yeah, well, if you can do something about it, do it. And I've created a new terminology, is that actionism is the new activism. Activism is talking about it and ranting and rave about it. Actionism is doing something about it. And I want people to step into actionism.
Yeah, I really do believe that I'm sort of campaigning in a way.
Yeah.
I'm an activist.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
a bit of an activist.
Yeah, exactly. But you're actioning it. Right? You're not just talking, you're actioning it by putting out the poems and leading people that way. And, I encourage people to share the poems when they get to your Facebook, and share them with other people. Have conversations about them.
I'd love that. I actually have, the very political ones I put onto 4 sites which are done by a South African guy, Mano Thanos. It's the Great Debate, Enter the Ring Forum, and Occupy Democrats. And when it's not, then I put them onto about 6 South African sites, and put them onto Hong Kong and Shanghai people. There are 3 sites there, and I put them onto Brits in LA, and they're all loving it.
Yes.
But I'm be careful not to put the totally political ones into the South African sites, because a lot of people are not, they're not totally democratic at all.
No. And South Africa's still got its problems. It's still in a political turmoil there, so they're not ready for it.
Here, South Africans living here have still apartheid in them.
I know. Well, why are you here then? Why are you in the States? Yeah.
And one South African is a friend actually wrote and said, well, he's done good things for the economy. What do you think Biden will do? You know what? I thought about it, and my reaction first was I'm going to answer it, and then I thought I'm not going to. Because if I pick up the cards, I have to play the game.
Yes.
And if he isn't seeing the separation of those children from their families at the border, and all those things that at the moment they're not really talking about, simply because of the COVID and then
take COVID alone, love. The fact that he doesn't want any more testing, the fact that he was so slow with the testing, so slow with the mask, so slow with everything else. How many thousands, tens upon thousands of deaths are at his hand because he didn't want to engage in it, and he wants to stop it now and ignore it. So yeah.
His word today to Fox, it's on Facebook, I posted it. His words today about Dr. Fauci saying wear masks and that's in today's post that I put. I got it off the TV, which I do if it's written, then I put it into that poem of the day.
Right.
And I said to myself, my God, the man is crazy.
We know that, though. We know that. He is deranged, but he's also got an awful lot of people around him that are either deranged or capitalizing on it. But if they
Yes.
cannot see the destructiveness of this man, there are deaths, there is blood on his hands. The children at the border and the people that are there, they're never going to be the same, even if they're still alive. And so many deaths over COVID are going to be on his hands because he did not get into action quick enough, and he's now not wanting to have any more testing done because he doesn't want the numbers to go up. And
the opposition now, because he was impeached, he will do anything. He's so angry enough to do everyone.
Yeah, well, now he's got to show his taxes, and that's pissed him off even more.
Yeah, but that's going to take a while before they can implement that. They'll find every way to delay it.
But, also when he stops being a president, he will be arrested for various other crimes. And that's another reason why he does not want to come out of the White House. So
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is we're asking, it's the same with the police force. We're asking for accountability. Things have gone to the extremes. They've become ridiculous. They've become, totally and utterly bizarre. And we have to put a stop to it. And things have to change and come back to common sense and reasoning. And, whether it's our own lives or whether it's our community lives, whether it's our country's lives, we've got to be a part of it. We have to be.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely.
You've got somebody come to visit you.
In the walkway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look forward to the book, and of course, when you've got it, we have to have you back to share all of that. But in the meantime, read the poems because they really are beautiful. Look at the other show we did and her book that she wrote about that lifestyle. This woman's lived, folks. She's lived. She's lived as a prisoner in more than one way. She's escaped into her own beautiful gifts. She is an explorer. She is an adventurist, and she is incredibly creative, and she is such a wonderful inspiration to all of us that get off your ass and do something. We've all got a gift lying somewhere inside of us, right?
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, really.
Now, how do people find you on Facebook and your site and everything? Give all your information, please, love.
Okay, so my book is on Amazon. You're talking about the book I've written, which is Hiding in a Cave of Trunks, and it's on Amazon. And if they put in my name, Ester Benjamin Shifren, they'll find my book right away. But Ester has no H in it, so don't make any mistake.
Right.
And my phone number, do you need that as well?
If you're wanting to give that out, that's up to you.
Maybe not. They can always.
No.
They can write to me if they want to.
Yes, email, yeah.
At Ester Shifren, no Benjamin in that. Ester Shifren, SHIFREN @gmail.com.
Right, and your Facebooks?
Go on to Facebook and you'll find me there, and you'll find my poems, and every now and then you'll find a link to my book, because I don't really push it but many people are asking me about it now.
Right. And on Facebook, you're Ester Shifren.
Ester Benjamin Shifren.
Okay, the Benjamin is in that. Are you on any other social medias?
LinkedIn.
Right.
Twitter, Ester Shifren 1 on Twitter. And also I'm on very weekly on Instagram.
You're more than I am. I do not like the Instagram because I can't do it from the computer, and I do not want to work from the phone. So you're far ahead of me then.
And it that well yet, so
yeah, no, it's not my favorite, and
I'm on Facebook, very at home on it.
Yeah, I really do think that your poetry should be on LinkedIn as well. There are some incredible people on LinkedIn. The platform has changed quite so much. It is
every day.
Good. Yeah, because that I'm going to certainly tag you into a few people there that are great supporters and promoters. But there's some really cool people on LinkedIn nowadays, and so it's another wonderful platform to get people engaged.
I don't post it effectively, but I post it every day, and I very often put photographs as well.
Good.
And I do hashtags and stuff like that.
Just look at her go here. Look at her go. You really are an inspiration. You truly are. You're just so exuberant. I mean, you had a video up the other day of you dancing, and I love it, and it's like, what it's like to be restricted. What it's like to be denied, or what it's like to be a prisoner more than one way. And the fact that you look at everything and you find your liberation. You find your escapism, and you find your way to be creative and live through it. You truly are a wonderful example, love.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you are, I find to be inspirational as well. And I love the way you do interviews. Please keep on doing your job here. Fabulous.
Well, I love what I'm doing. I get to meet people like you and have wonderful conversations. So it's all good.
I'm looking forward to that. I'll let you know as soon as I start really working on this book.
I can't wait for that. I think it'd be a fabulous Christmas gift. So just nudge, nudge, wink, wink,
And before the election, it's got to go out.
Yes. So time to get on it, girl. So, look and listen to this story, listen to our other story, look and read the wonderful poems every day. And, if you are feeling isolated, if you are feeling alone, if you are feeling at a crossroads in life, if you are feeling frustrated and down or do not know what tomorrow is going to bring, read these wonderful poems every day. They speak to the times, they speak to the attitude, they speak to the solutions. And just in herself, Esther is a bright, beautiful light that shines bright for all of us. So folks, please don't make excuses. Just step up and step out and become. Until next time, folks, bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.